Michael. Welcome to Southern Fried Sports.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Michael, I got to ask you, your first reaction upon reading or hearing the report from Dennis Dodd of CBSSports.com that at the highest levels of college football, there is strong consideration being given to taking the kickoff out of the game. What were your initial thoughts to that?
It'll be a shame. It'd be a travesty. They better think of a new name to call the game. They won't be able to call it football anymore, right? It is. I mean, I think you get a lot of knee-jerk reaction when the NFL or college or vice versa starts talking about a rule change. And, I understand the point of view, but, the kickoff is it's a ceremonial play. It's so instrumental. Of course, look at the national championship last year with Alabama, and they do that onside, surprise onside kick, and kind of changes the momentum of the game. And that's what that play does. It's a momentum changer. And I think it'd be a mistake. I think there's definitely ways that you can probably adjust the rule. I understand the concussion and that issue, but you can't remove that play. It's such a ceremonial play, and it's such a momentum-changing play.
That's where I get lost on this. How, you just going to spot the football? I mean, that seems to be the belief, but my thoughts, Michael, is that the biggest thing you lose is in-game situations, with the potential for the onside kick to extend games. Not only that, let's say you're down 10. You can kick a field goal, and you still have that available to you in a one-score game to be able to extend the game, perhaps tie the game, maybe even win the game with a successful onside kick. It just seems to me that such a huge part of the game, not only from start to finish, but why watch the game with a minute or two left if a team's down 2 scores and they don't have that potential to go to the onside kick for the extra possession? I don't see where viewership is going to sustain. And that's, we know as much as anything, that's what talks in all this. Viewership is very important. Obviously, player safety is important. Do you think it could come down to which weighs the most, liability or viewership? I mean, obviously, money's an issue here.
Yeah, no, money's always an issue. That's a driving factor. I don't care who says what and how they say it. Money talks. And if viewership goes down, or if at the very end of a game where in the last couple of minutes, if I'm a product or service, I don't want my spot to be at that last part of the game if they can't keep the attendance and viewership there, right? So safety, of course, is obviously number one, and I understand that aspect of it, but there are ways to teach people how to tackle properly. You look at what the Seattle Seahawks have been the last couple of years. They're teaching their defenders to tackle properly, not go for the knockout kill. And you look at the evolution of equipment. People were getting a little nicked up, so they made equipment a little better. But now the equipment's better. People felt like it was a green light to hit harder, and so on and so forth. So it's just educating and teaching proper tackling techniques, I think, and then you can kind of get back to football the way it's supposed to be played.
Michael, let me ask you this. They've already made rule changes to the kickoffs and moving the spot up for kickoffs. Is it just me, or does it seem like more than half of these kickoffs these days go for touchbacks anyway? I guess that's another point for me. How many of these kickoffs are actually getting returned now versus 10 years ago? Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's my second year in the NFL. In fact, my rookie year in the NFL, which is kind of dating myself here, 1993, kickoffs were at the 35, and you could actually use a 3-inch kickoff tee.
Wow.
And I don't know if those things still exist, but and then my second year, they moved it back to the 30-yard line with a 1-inch kickoff tee. Why? Because kickers were getting touchbacks, and they wanted the return game to be big and important again, right? Yes. And then all of a sudden they go back to the 35. Now they want touchbacks. Well, now this year, the NFL is doing what college does, and the touchbacks coming out to the 25. So they always said it may backfire on them. But what's happening is I already know NFL kickers that I work with that they're being told to start practicing the pop-up kickoff to have it go nice and high about the goal line. So now you don't concede that extra 5 yards. You can get them inside the 25, maybe inside the 20. So I don't know how that's going to benefit or lessen the concussion aspect of it, but it's one of those things where, yes, they are taking more touchbacks now. If the weather provides for it in the ball, yeah, I get it. So leave it as that, and maybe move it up to the 40. I heard there's rumors of Ivy League moving their kickoff up to the 40, and, hey, yeah, maybe that's going to create more touchbacks, and what it does is it keeps the play in the game. It allows you the element of a surprise onside kick.
Exactly.
And maybe not everyone's going to be able to hit that touchback, or maybe they mishit it. Then you still get that chance for that long return, which can be a momentum change.
And I almost don't care, Michael, if every kickoff goes for a touchback. You said it. I want the availability of the onside kick, and not just in in-game situations, as we saw in Glendale in January. What a weapon that play can be if you do your homework. That play showed us Alabama's execution of it against Clemson. That film study is not limited just to offense and defense, right? It is very much important in the kicking game. Alabama did their homework and was rewarded for it. And what we're essentially going to say with this is that possibility is gone, and there's an element of the game that doesn't need to be studied. Let me ask you this about the NFL level. How could it affect jobs? Guys that are core special teamers and roster sizes. Do you see it eventually having that type of effect on the NFL game? Already a league that goes with a very trimmed roster when you compare it to college football and other outlets.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've always said, I've talked to people, hey, if you're not a fairly high draft pick, you're going to make the roster based on special teams. If you can be a good cover guy, get down there and make plays. I remember specifically a handful of guys, that were on our team, whether in Tampa or Oakland, when I played there, that made the roster specifically because of their special teams play.
No doubt. You see it every year, and guys are celebrated for it. I mean, you see guys make Pro Bowls based on special teams play, and that's a good thing because it tells you that it is a very important element of the game. It is the third facet of the game that is extremely important. Now, let's shift gears a little bit, talking with Michael Husted, former NFL kicker of Husted Kicking, does a lot of training around the country, does a lot of good work. I can speak personally for the outstanding work that Michael does in terms of training kickers and specialists in general. I know you work with Adam Griffith, the place kicker here at the University of Alabama. Have you had a chance to spend some time with him of late, and how has that gone?
Yeah, I did. The first time I remember meeting him back in high school when he was a freshman. And he works mostly with a great guy in Calhoun, Georgia, where he's from, named Mark Thorlbach, who's now a principal at his school, so his time's very limited. But Mark and I stay in touch, and Mark and I connected several months ago, and he's like, hey, look, Adam's going into his last year. He's getting so many calls and messages from these so-called kicking coaches, but I told his parents that, hey, let's connect with Michael, have him come out here. So I went out there to Atlanta, Calhoun, the end of May, and worked with him for 2 days, and just kind of got a sense of where his technique is, what we could do to fine-tune it to help him go into his senior year and, be another significant part of ideally another Alabama championship. And he was hitting the ball well. And then 2 weekends ago, I had a college camp out here in California, in San Diego, and he came out to that, and I was really impressed with the way he was hitting his field goals. And, if he just kind of does what he's supposed to do, and I tell kickers you have to prepare 3 facets of the game. You have to do your in the weight room, on the field technique, and you have to do it between your ears. And a lot of people don't really follow the between the ears program, but I think he will, and I'm expecting him to have a solid year this year for Alabama.
So, Michael, did he appear healthy? Because that was an issue for him last year, and even the previous season or going into last season. He had some back issues, and I think people hear that, football fans hear that, and they think, kicker? How does a kicker have back issues? Explain to us how that can come about. Is it the torque? Is it what are the things that can result or lead to those type of issues for a place kicker?
Well, you look at it, it's a repetitive motion, right? I mean, you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So there's wear and tear. And if you're not training your body properly, you can go and do bicep curls and you can do bench press and all that, but I'm a big believer in training your core properly. And I know that the strength coach there at Alabama has really allowed the specialists to kind of start training appropriately that's best for their skill set. And so since he's been able to do that the last season and a half, he has gotten healthy. He seemed very healthy to me. He was hammering kickoffs. He was hitting the ball and field goals with great height, great distance. And so I didn't see any signs of an injury that was, ongoing, and I expect him to be healthy throughout the whole season this year. Talking with Michael
Husted of Husted Kicking. You can check out Michael's work at hustedkicking.com if you're interested in training with one of the very best in the business. Check that out, hustedkicking.com. I got to ask you before we let you go, Michael, these YouTube videos in the summers of these guys kicking 75-yard field goals, what do you think when you see those?
Well, first thing I'm looking for is how much their shorts or their shirts moving. How strong is that wind when they're kicking it? I know they're not kicking it into the wind, so that's the first thing I look for. What was the wind doing that day? And there are a lot of kids out there, and like any other position, the position is evolving, and you're getting bigger, stronger athletes that are kicking footballs. But it doesn't impress me, because the thing is, are you going to be able to kick a 35-yarder with 3 seconds on the clock, done by 2, in front of 80,000 people and an SEC championship on the line, right? That's the main goal. So don't show me you can hit a 75-yarder. Show me that you can consistently hit a 35-yarder when the pressure is on.
Great point. Michael Husted, talk to us a little bit as we let you go here. We know that position camps are big for quarterbacks, linemen, receivers, but what about kickers? What's it like this time of year for you training these guys, and what's the route that a young specialist should be taking in getting ready for the upcoming season, and how can they get with you to maybe do some work?
Yeah, it's important. I look at the kicking position as like a pitching position in baseball. You can't go out there and kick 100 balls a day. Just like a pitcher doesn't throw 100 pitches a day. You've got to be smart. You've got to watch your kick count. It's about training smarter, not harder, being wise, and having a good routine and making sure that when you are out there kicking, you're kicking quality reps and not just rapid-fire quantity reps. So, I see a lot of young kids, and I was guilty of it when I was little. I didn't know. I think there's maybe one kicking camp in the whole country. When I was coming out of high school, now there seems to be one on every corner. But, it's about training wisely. And so if these, young kickers and players have, hopefully a very smart and qualified kicking coach that can give them a good regiment to work with, leading into the season, that way they don't burn out, then great. Otherwise, I do offer consulting on my end where people, with technology, people can send me video. I get people sending me video all the time. I evaluate it. I make technique adjustments, but I also put together in-season and off-season training program for them.
Outstanding. Michael Husted, former NFL kicker for 9 seasons, mostly with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Check him out, hustedkicking.com. Michael, really appreciate you joining us this morning on Southern Fried Sports, and we'll look to do it again down the road.
Hey, Travis, thanks a lot. Great catching up, and enjoy the rest of the week.